today's topic I chose is the Glories of Madhavendra Puri. So before we start the class, we're going to sing Jai Radha Madhava. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja जी गोपाल नाथ जी की ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय Once again, welcome everyone for this Sunday quiz programs. So I will dive into today's class. So today's topic is Madhavendra Puri, and many of you might know the Madhavendra Puri is one of the very important acharya in our sampradaya. Actually, role of Madhavendra Puri is very important because Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj says that actually Madhavendra Puri, he who introduced the Vipralamba Seva in our sampradaya, actually the mood of separation from Krishna and the Gopi Bhav or a mood of gopis in a devotion to Krishna, it has been introduced by whom? Sri Madhavendra Puri. Actually, what Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj says that Madhavendra Puri was the first acharya in our sampradaya who is he is the first offshoot in our sampradaya of desire tree of a divine love. One should not actually misunderstood what is the difference between the material separation versus a devotion, right? when someone is materially separated from something, right, they feel they receive they got a feeling of despondency, means they will feel low, they will not be very much enthusiastic. But when the despondency arises from the separation from Krishna, actually this devotee's desire to serve Krishna becomes intensified. And what they do, they, with a lot of enthusiasm, they engage into the service of Krishna. Right? Actually, devotee becomes very much happy, peaceful, he becomes tolerant into executing the order of the Lord and become very happy into the service of Krishna. So, actually, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj says that Vipralambha Seva, or the feeling of separation from Krishna, that is the only process by which devotee or devotee can achieve the perfection into their spiritual life. Now, if we see when Madhavendra Puri wanted to serve the senses of Krishna, he actually set a very high standard of devotional service. And later on, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj says that later on that same high standard were followed by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his associate, and then they were given down in the line into the parampara, right? And Madhavendra Puri's pastime, and also what we can learn from Madhavendra Puri, is given by Krishnaraj Kaviraj Maharaj in Chaitanya Charitamrita. It was in our fourth canto, Madhya Leela, fourth chapter, where the pastime of Madhavendra Puri has been described by Krishnaraj Kaviraj Maharaj. Now the whole pastime will start with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu visiting the place called Remuna in Odisha. Right? That's where the temple of Gopinath is located. If you see in the slides, on the right hand side, it's the first gate of the gate of the temple, and where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in the other side, the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is in the temple. So when actually Mahaprabhu first entered into the temple, he took the darshan of Gopinath, and then he becomes very happy, right? And he becomes so much filled with the love of Godhead. Then he offered obeisances to Gopinath. When he was offering obeisances to Gopinath, there was a flower on the helmet of Gopinath, which fell onto the head of Mahaprabhu. You know, that is also very significant, because that reflects that the Mahaprabhu and Gopinath is not different. You know, and then Mahaprabhu sat down with all his associate, which is including Nityananda Prabhu and other associate, and they started to describe the pastime of his grand spiritual master, Madhavendra Puri. If you see the parampara, the Madhavendra Puri is a spiritual master of Ishvara Puri, and Ishvara Puri is a spiritual master of Madhavendra Puri. So now Madhavendra Puri is sitting in a temple and he's describing, right, what I'm going to speak in the subsequent slide. Okay, so the pastime starts like this: that one day, actually Madhavendra Puri had a desire to take a darshan of Govardhan Hill. So he go to Vrindavan, and when he take a darshan of Govardhan Hill, when he see the first time Govardhan Hill, he becomes very ecstatic, right? It says that he become almost mad in the ecstasy of love of Godhead. And he did not know whether it is a day or a night. Sometimes he stood up, sometimes he sat down. Sometimes he could not discriminate whether it is a proper place or not, because of his high level of purity. Once Madhavendra Puri, after chanting and then in ecstasy of love, he danced there. And then what he do, he circumambulated the Golden Hill. Once he finished the circumambulation, he went to Govindakund, and there he took a bath, and then after the bath, he went into the sum of the one small tree and then sat down beneath the tree. And that's where Madhavendra Puri started chanting the name of the Lord. Now here, one thing which is very important to note, that Madhavendra Puri always remembered Krishna as a Govinda. Now Govinda, meaning of Govinda is one Krishna who gives a pleasure to senses, right? Right? He gives a pleasure to senses. Now our mood, or the mood of a Madhavendra Puri was to serve Krishna's senses. He was always looking for that how he can please Krishna. That was the mood of Madhavendra Puri, right? So now it further continues. Now then what happened? Suddenly, when Madhavendra Puri was sitting there, suddenly a boy approached Madhavendra Puri with the pot of milk, right? And what the boy started telling? The Madhavendra Puri come there and boy come there and tell Madhavendra Puri, why you are sitting here? And why are you fasting? Have you ate anything? I brought you a pot of milk, please drink it. Now Chaitanya Charitamrita explains that when Madhavendra Puri first saw the boy, his heart becomes satisfied. Actually, if you interpret it more closely, it indicates that Madhavendra Puri did not have any other ulterior motivation in his heart. So when he took a darshan of the Lord, actually his heart became satisfied, right? And further he continued, Prabhupada continued in a purport that when the Madhavendra Puri took a darshan of the boy, his thirst, his hunger, everything disappeared, And Prabhupada writes in a translation that that's how Krishna reciprocated with Madhavendra Puri. Because he was always thinking Krishna, how to please Krishna's senses, that's why Krishna is also reciprocating and taking or kind of satisfying the Madhavendra Puri senses. Now, what happened after that is that Madhavendra Puri asked a question to the boy, who are you? Where do you reside? He asked further questions. And the boy said that Madhavendra Puri, the woman saw you because there was a going pond and they were filling up the water from there. So they said the woman saw you, and they told me that when Sadhu is sitting here, it looks like he did not eat for the whole day. So the boy said that whoever does not eat anything, I supply them all the eatables. This is very important point here, right? Because Madhavendra Puri was sitting there, he was fully dependent on Krishna. That's why Krishna came with the pot of milk, right? And it is very, very much significant, or maybe very much analogous to one of the beautiful prayer which Prithu Maharaj sings in his prayers. It is in the Bhagavatam, 4th canto, 28th verse, 21st verse. I will sing it. Tanmayayada jana isa khandito yaddanna sasra pratagno abuddha yatha chareda balhitam pita swayam tatha tvamev harshi nasami hitum. So here, the translation by Srila Prabhupada is, my Lord, due to your illusionary energies, all my living beings in this material world have forgotten the real constitutional position, right? Because they identify themselves as a body, right? And then, out of ignorance, they are always desire material happiness in form of society, friendship, and love. Therefore, please do not ask me to take any material benefits from you. That's like Prithu Maharaj is saying, in case Krishna asks, what do you want? And then further continues, but a father not wanting for a son's demand does everything for the benefit of the son. Please bestow upon me whatever you think best for me. Yeah, that is the beauty. Right here, Madhavendra Puri's mood is like this. Madhavendra Puri does not desire anything. That's why Krishna comes with a pot of the milk, right? And here, Prabhupada also beautifully writes in the purport, I'll just touch one point here. It says that, Prabhupada writes in a purport, it is the duty of a son to depend on a father. And how do you depend on a father? By not asking anything from the father. So we have a wrong material conception about dependence. When we see materially, when we are dependent on someone, means you ask. But actually that is not the real point. It is a totally opposite point. When we are dependent on someone, please do not ask. If you're asking means you don't have a faith on that person, right? Then only you ask. If you're fully dependent on someone, then you would not ask for anything, right? Because you knows that the Krishna knows what is best for us and when to give the best thing in our life, right? That is called a real dependence. That is a subtle difference between a material dependence versus a spiritual dependence on the Lord. right? So now we'll further continue the pastime. Here what happened, now Madhavendra Puri's mood was that he was completely dependent on Krishna, and Krishna come with a pot of the milk. Now, before Krishna, or before that boy left the place, actually he told Madhavendra Puri that Madhavendra Puri, please drink this milk, and then I will come or pick it up the pot later on. He did not say that keep the pot, He said I'll come back and pick up the pot. So Madhavendra Puri, very obedient, he drank the milk later on, then cleaned the pot, put it aside. And then Madhavendra Puri started thinking, he was kind of waiting for that, in the direction, he was looking in the direction, so where that boy? He did not came back to pick up the milk. And then Madhavendra Puri started thinking, oh, now it's almost dark, why a young boy should be around? So, here, after some time, Madhavendra Puri tried to sleep, but he could not able to sleep, So what he did, he started chanting. So that is the difference, right? It's not an acharya who, it is not us who sometimes could not able to sleep. Even an acharya could not able to sleep. But the difference is, when the acharya could not able to sleep, what they do? They don't open the Facebook and do the WhatsApp, Actually, when the acharya could not able to sleep, they start chanting. That is the difference here. So now what happened next? So when the Madhavendra Puri went to the sleep, he got a first dream. In a first dream, actually the same boy, right? In this pastime, there are multiple dreams come. So I'll just write the first dream. So in the first dream, the same boy come into the Madhavendra Puri's dream. And then he kind of hold the hand of a Madhavendra Puri and then take the Madhavendra Puri in the bushes very close to the Govinda Kund. Now, after taking the Madhavendra Puri there, what the boy says? Boy says that the Madhavendra Puri, I reside in these bushes. Because of this, I have suffered so much cold, rain shower, winds, and scorching heat. He further advised Madhavendra Puri, Madhavendra Puri, please bring some villages. Take me out from here, and then situate me nicely on the top of Govardhan Hill. Right? He said, please construct a temple on top of the hill, and install me up there, and also wash me with a lot of water. That is the request of that boy. And further, that boy continues. He said, for many, many days, I have been observing you. I was watching you. He said that I'm observing you. Many days I'm seeing you. And I was waiting and wondering, when will the Madhavendra Puri will come? So that was, Krishna was thinking continuously, right? If you see, Krishna told Madhavendra Puri that I was waiting for you. It's not that Krishna is only thinking about all the acharyas. Krishna is thinking about every one of us. He's making a big plans. That how each and every living entity can come back to him, right? So there is one verse in Bhagavatam where Krishna is all transcendental, right? But still, in a Bhagavatam, there is one verse, or I think 3 verses, where Krishna's brain has been referred to. It is one of the verses 4:30-24, right? Maybe we'll read it. It says that Namo Visuddha Sattvaya Hariye Hari Medase Vasudevaya Krishnaya Prabhave Sarva Sarvata. Right? Here, if you see the word-to-word translation, which is underlined, it says Hariye Medase. Hari Medase. What it means? It says whose brain, right? Here, the Prabhupada translated as a brain. He said whose brain works only for the deliverance of the soul. Right? It is a very wonderful point, right? Krishna is continuously thinking and making a plan that how he can bring us back to Godhead. Now, this is one thing, is that it reflects what? It reflects Krishna's mood, right? We may, as the ignorant children, we may forget Krishna, but Krishna never forgets us, right? And Krishna is always worried that how he can bring us back, right? And Prabhupada writes that this is how Krishna is reciprocated with Madhavendra Puri, right? Because he was waiting for him there. That's how he is reciprocating to the pure devotion of Madhavendra Puri. Now, if the conversation further continues, and what that boy said, now he's introducing himself to Madhavendra Puri. He said that I am the Gopal, I am the lifter of Govardhan Hill, right? And then that boy says that Madhavendra Puri, when the non-believer when they plundered the temple, actually, my priest hid me behind the bushes. And because of the fear of their life, they disappeared. But I stuck here for many, many years. That's what the boy tells. And now, after that, Madhavendra Puri woke up from his sleep. He woke up from his sleep. Now, when Madhavendra Puri woke up from his sleep, he becomes very morose. And he falls into grief. Why? Because Madhavendra Puri started thinking that, oh my God, what a blunder mistake I made. Because actually Krishna personally came to see me. Right? But because lack of my devotional service, I was not able to recognize Krishna. Then he started crying actually. Madhavendra Puri started crying. But after some time, what Madhavendra Puri do? Madhavendra Puri very firmly focus on the instruction of Gopal. Right? He firmly focused on the instruction of Gopal, and then he determined to execute the order of Gopal. Right? Srila Prabhupada write in a purport or translation, he said that Madhavendra Puri cried for some time, but then he fixed his mind on executing the order of Gopal. Thus he became tranquil. Tranquil means pacified. Right? So many times we will think that in a Bhagavatam also, right, there are many devotees of the Lord who fell into grief, right? Or they externally they think that they are disturbed. And then what they do, how they recover from that grief, how they recover from that grief and then become peaceful. The process of becoming a peaceful is very well given into Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, 15th chapter, from 28 to verse 31. They are very beautiful verses. I will not go over all of them, but I just take one of them, right? So the verse is like this: Suta uvacha evam chintayanto jishno Krishna pada saroruham sorhatena tikadena santa siddhi malamatihi. Here it is Arjuna, actually, in the 15th chapter of the first canto. Arjuna is speaking. It's about Arjuna. Here the Suta Goswami said, thus being deeply absorbed in a thinking of instruction of the Lord, which were imparted in a great intimacy of friendship, right? Because for Arjuna, it was a Sakya Bhav, right? So he was in a friendship, he was dealing with Krishna in friendship. And in a thinking of the lotus feet of Krishna, Arjuna become pacified and free from all the material contamination, right? This is the royal formula, how to come out of the grief, right? Actually, Madhavendra Puri was, when he fall into the grief, it's appeared that Madhavendra Puri in a grief, but how he come out of it? By constantly thinking about the instruction of the Lord. When he did that and focused on executing the order of the Lord, he come out of the misery. And then Prabhupada further write, actually here, the word pacified, right, which is the same word which is used in Chaitanya Charitamrita as a tranquil, to indicate the mind of the Madhavendra Puri. So now we'll further continue. So what happened next day? When Madhavendra Puri woke up next day, right, he arranged a lot of villages. He arranged villages, he discussed with them what happened in his dream, and then he guided them to the bushes. Close to the Govinda Kund. And then all the villagers start cutting the bushes. When they started cutting the bushes, lo and behold, what happened? They saw the beautiful deity of Gopalji. They found the very beautiful deity of Gopalji. Then the villagers, it was heavy, Chaitanya Charitamrita actually has so many verses explaining this, But we'll try to discuss briefly here that they tried to pick up the deity and then they nicely situated the deity on the top of Govardhan hill. They make a stone altar there and they set up the Gopalji on top of the altar. Now what happened? Now after that, Madhavendra Puri, really empowered by the energy of the Lord, he actually arranged a beautiful Abhishek of Gopalji. So it is a detailed description. Madhavendra Puri says, Madhavendra Puri asked Brahmana to go to Govinda Kund and they got the 9 pot of Govinda Kund water. They bathed the Gopalji very nicely with that water. And then all the villagers comes and they also bring the water with them. And then they bathe the Gopalji with that water. Also, it explains that Madhavendra Puri personally take the scented oil and then they rub the oil onto the body of Gopalji. Right? When they do that, actually, body of Gopalji become very glossy. Hmm. Then they do the Panchagavya Abhishek. Then they do the Panchamrit Abhishek. Also, they do the Mahasnana with ghee and water, right? And at the last, they perform the scented water bathing onto the Gopalji. Now, after all this Abhisheks complete, they dress the Gopalji very nicely, and then put the beautiful Vaijanti Mala on a Gopalji, and also they put the Tulsi Mala on Gopalji. And after that, Madhavendra Puri personally, he do the first Aarti of Gopalji, the way we do to Srinathji Gopalji here. You know. And meantime, all this going on, with this, actually the whole Abhishek or installation ceremony complete. And after that, side by side, all the different Brahmanas, they were doing lots of all the different type of sweet meal preparations for Gopalji. Right? It's Chaitanya Charitamrita explains that they were preparing wonderful things like rice, dal, and they have lots of different number of sweets. Actually, if you see in the pictures, you know, and they Chaitanya Charitamrita explains that they kind of arrange a big kind of put different varieties and arrange them very nicely in front of a Gopalji, and that's how they complete the first Annakuta ceremony. You know, Madhavendra Puri first complete the first Annakuta ceremony for Gopalji. After Gopalji accept all those all those Bhoga offering, that prasadam was distributed among all the villages. So this is how actually Madhavendra Puri conducted the first Food for Life program in ISKCON. that was the first Food for Life program in ISKCON by Madhavendra Puri. Right? And then what happened? Actually, because Madhavendra Puri conducted this program so nicely and so opulently, that the message go around everywhere, you know. And all the nearby hit villages, they come out and they said that we want to sponsor a feast, you know, like us, you know. We want to sponsor a feast. There are a number of people are there. Then Madhavendra Puri, he arranged a roster actually that time. You know, even that time there was a roster. So he has to assign one village one day, and then they do the nice seva of Gopalji. And this way, for multiple days, you know, they do wonderful offering to Gopalji. Actually, Madhavendra Puri makes sure that everyone, and he oversees all those work, you know, and Madhavendra Puri makes sure that everyone got a chance to serve Krishna. Right? And the Chaitanya Charitamrita says that after giving all this activity or managing all this Abhishek ceremony and an offering ceremony to Gopalji, Madhavendra Puri, at the end of the day, he just takes some milk preparation after putting the Gopalji to rest. See how amazing it is, you know. See how the devotee acts with the energy they have, you know. And keep in mind that when this pastime was happening, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Chaitanya Bhagavatam explained that Madhavendra Puri was almost finished his 80s. He was well into his 90s. No, he was not a young man. He was well into his 90s. But because of the special mercy of the Lord, he empowered to execute the order of Lord. That is one of the very important points to be noted. Now what happened? Now Madhavendra Puri go to sleep. So he got a second dream. Madhavendra Puri got a second dream this time. In this dream, actually same Gopalji come and he started telling Madhavendra Puri that my body temperature is very high. This is the mellow between the devotee and the Lord, right? How they are exchanging the mellows with each other. You know. So now Lord came into his dream and he's saying, "Oh, I'm very feeling hot. Now better do one thing. You go to Jagannath Puri, because the sandalwood from the Jagannath Puri is very good. So you bring that sandalwood from there and apply on my body, right?" And Gopalji said one wonderful thing at the end of his conversation. He said that, Madhavendra Puri, no one else can do this service, you personally go. So he said that please don't delegate to anyone. You know, I would like you to go. You know. So think about it, 80, 90-year-old man, he has to, you know, go to 1600 kilometers, because if you see the Google map from all the way from And Jagannath Puri, all the way from Govardhan to Jagannath Puri is around 1500 kilometers by walk. That time no Honda, no Toyota, nothing. So he has to walk through there. So what happened next? So when Madhavendra Puri wake up on the next day, he becomes very glad in ecstasy of love of Godhead. He did not say that, oh Krishna, I did so much for you. Now you again want me to walk all the way up to there? Huh? So he's not telling like that, but he becomes very ecstatic in his mood. Actually even his age is not a barrier in a devotional service, right? So this is very one important point here. For a devotee, the old age is never a barrier in Krishna consciousness, right? I would like to bring or discuss one wonderful purport. My Guru Maharaj used to say that whenever you are getting old, please read this purport every day morning before you go to work. So let's look at that. So it's like this. It says that Uddhava, it's about Uddhava, right? Uddhava does serve the Lord continually from childhood, and in his old age, the attitude of service never slackened. As soon as he was asked about the message of Lord, he at once remembered all about him. Right? Let's read the purport. It's very beautiful purport. Transcendental service to the Lord is never mundane. The service attitude of devotee gradually increases, never becomes slackened. Generally, in old age, a person is allowed retirement from the mundane service. But in a transcendental service of the Lord, there is no retirement at all. On contrary, the service attitude increases more and more with the progress of age. In a transcendental service, there is no satiation. We said, Hai Bapa, Mar Gaya. No, that is not there. There is no satiation, and therefore, there is no retirement. Materially, when a man becomes tired of rendering service on a physical body, he is always allowed retirement. But in a transcendental service, there is no feeling of fatigue. Right? Very wonderful, right? Prabhupada is writing. Because it is a spiritual service and it is not on a bodily plane. Right? Service on a bodily plane dwindles as the body grows older. But in a spirit is never old. Therefore, in a spiritual plane, the service is never tiresome. Right? See how beautifully Prabhupada is writing. He said the service is never tiresome, and there is no retirement at all when it comes to spiritual. I want to point it out here, that my own realization. If you see here, there are two wonderful devotees in our congregation, Yasomati Mataji and Vrindavan Chandra Prabhu. Right? Actually, when I was reading this purport, first thing came in my mind, it's about them. Right? Actually, I have no hesitation telling that they're actually the personification of this purport. Because from the day 10 years ago when I came to this center, and when I see Yasomati Mataji, and now even when she lead all this big temple cooking program, he do everything with a great perfection, right? There is never slacking in anything. Many times when we are finishing the pot washing, going home, we see Vrindavan Chandra Prabhu is around. He's making sure all the lights are closed, everything is closed. See, so that is a mood of a devotee, right? Their bhakti never slackens as their age older. Actually, they become more and mature in bhakti. That's what the Prabhupada is making point, and that is what mood of a Madhavendra Puri. Madhavendra Puri never said that you asked me to go so far away, but he becomes very ecstatic. And Madhavendra Puri was ready to take any responsibility for the pleasure of the Lord. Right? That is the point here. Now, before Madhavendra Puri is leaving for Jagannath Puri, what he did? He actually he makes all the necessary arrangement for the worship of Gopalji. And then there was some Brahmanas came from Bengal, right? So what Madhavendra Puri do? Madhavendra Puri actually initiated him into our sampradaya. And then he teach them all the deity worship and everything. So actually Madhavendra Puri was the first Acharya in our sampradaya who started the transmigration of devotee from one temple to another temple, right? See, he started the food following. He also started the transmigration of devotee. What you said it. He was kind of so much ahead of his time, That was the Madhavendra Puri. Now what happened next? So now Madhavendra Puri started his journey all the way from where? He's starting his journey from Govardhan all the way up to Jagannath Puri. And in that journey, he stopped at two places. First, he stopped at Santipur. Santipur at the place of Advaita Acharya. That's where he very nicely discussed the pastime of Radha and Krishna with Advaita Acharya. Advaita Acharya becomes so happy, he becomes so happy hearing from Madhavendra Puri about Lord. And then finally Advaita Acharya went for initiation from Madhavendra Puri. And Madhavendra Puri initiated Advaita Acharya, right? And after that, Madhavendra Puri starts his journey for Jagannath Puri. But before he reached Jagannath Puri, he stopped by one more place. That is called Shirchur Gopinath Temple in Remuna. It is the same place where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is telling the pastime of Madhavendra Puri to Nityananda Prabhu and rest of the other devotees. Now, let's hear what happened there. So, now when Madhavendra Puri took a darshan of Shirchur Gopinath, he becomes very happy. He becomes happy, he started dancing, he's chanting, right? He paid obeisances to Gopinath, right? And after some time, he sat down in a corner and he started chanting, right? And suddenly, during that time, there was one pujari. The pujari, he was passing by Madhavendra Puri. And when he was passing by, he has a 12 earthen pot of Amrita Keli, right? Amrita Keli is a sweet rice. It's a preparation of a sweet rice with the condensed milk. We call it kheer, right? Gujarati mein kheer. Right? So he had that. And Madhavendra Puri asked the question, what are you taking with you? And that pujari said, oh, you don't know what it is? It's a world famous Amrit Keli. It's a world famous Amrit Keli. It is going to be offered to to Gopinath, right? It will be offered to Gopinath. So, moment Madhavendra Puri heard the glories of Amrita Keli, he had one thought in his mind, come in his mind. What was that? He said, if without my asking, right? He said, without my asking, a little sweet rice given to me, I can then taste it and make a same preparation for my Lord Gopal. Right? Here it says that without my asking means if Krishna is willing, right? It's the other way to say it's a Krishna's willing, then I'll get it, right? So without my asking, someone offer me, I'll taste it. So many times we see the devotee, when they taste something good, what they do? They first start thinking, oh, how can I make it for my deity, Or maybe how can I make it for Gauratai, Srinathji, That's the mood of a devotee, right? So same way, Madhavendra Puri also thought that way. But the moment he thought, he feels very ashamed. Why? Because Madhavendra Puri thought that, oh, how can I think to taste something which is not even offered to the Lord yet? So then his heart filled with repentance. And Madhavendra Puri started chanting. Once he started chanting, after some time, he participated in the Aarti there, and then he leave the place. He went to the quiet marketplace in the city of Remuna, and then he started chanting, and then he dozed off, right? See, this is a genuine humility of Madhavendra Puri, right? Madhavendra Puri did not thought that he is an acharya, and he's above rules and regulation. Actually, the acharya is setting up an example for us to be followed in our sampradaya, right? He's such a high example. When we are offering a plate to Krishna, we have to suspend our smell, suspend our thoughts, everything, and before we take the plate to the Krishna, Madhavendra Puri, even he's not thinking about it. Even thinking he considered as an offense, because all these rules and regulations are meant for our own purification, right? So Madhavendra Puri have set a very high standard. Now what happened? Now after that incident, that pujari of the Gopinath temple, what he do? He actually take that 12 earthen pot, took it out, and then lock the altar, and then go to sleep outside the temple, in the hallway, in the corridor. So now this time, the dream comes to whom? The priest, right? It is not Madhavendra Puri. Okay, this time it's a priest. It's the same picture, but it's a priest this time. It's a priest this time. So the disclaimer. So now this time, the Gopinath come into the dream, and Gopinath started telling that he started waking up. The wake up, the pujari. He said, wake up. Now you please get up. I actually steal one Amrita Keli from that 12 earthen pot and hide it behind my dhoti. So you take that Amrita Keli and give it to my pure devotee, Madhavendra Puri, because he desired to taste it. Right? That is a wonderful point. So the priest in the dream, he said, Lord, how you can do that? Actually, I counted. And then took it out the plate of the offering, right? It cannot be, there cannot be any more Amrit Keli left there. But then Gopinath tells to Pujari, actually, you counted it wrong. You counted it wrong because of my tricks. You counted it wrong. You actually counted it 12, but actually there were only 11. I put one behind my dhoti. Right? So after that, Pujari Pujari wake up from his dream. He wake up from his dream, and before that happened, actually Prabhupada, I forgot to mention that actually Prabhupada write a very long purport at that in that verses in Chaitanya Charitamrita, and he point two things there. First is that actually here Krishna is stealing his own prasad for pleasure of his devotee. Right? That is a wonderful point. That Krishna is stealing his own prasad for the pleasure of devotee. And second thing is that whenever Krishna engaged into the transcendental stealing activity, it becomes transcendental bliss for all the devotee. Right? Whenever we talk about this Makanchur Matki, it's still after 5,000 years ago, people joy, Govinda Alare, people still break that Matki. And also same here, after so many years of this pastime, we all are relishing this wonderful pastime with each other. So whenever Krishna indulged into the transcendental stealing activity, everyone become very joyful. Right? So what happened? That the priest woke up. Right? The priest woke up from his dream, and then he take that Amrita. He opened the door, and then he entered into the altar, and lo and behold, when he moved the dhoti, he saw the 12 earthen pot. And priest become ecstatic because Lord has reciprocated directly. He came in his dream. So priest took this Amrita Keli and started running into the streets of Ramuna. And he was chanting. He was saying, "Oh Madhavendra Puri, oh Madhavendra Puri, where are you? Where are you?" Lord Gopinath has personally stole his own prasadam for you. That's what he said. And then suddenly Madhavendra Puri heard someone is chanting his name, right? Calling his name. So he woke up and then he called that Pujari. And then Pujari narrated all the pastime to Gopinath, to Madhavendra Puri. And Madhavendra Puri was very humble devotee, right? So Madhavendra Puri thought himself to be very much unworthy what Krishna had did for himself, right? Because that is the nature of a pure devotee. They are very humble in nature, right? So he felt so much unworthy that why Krishna had did that. Another important point, Prabhuji and Mataji, I want to mention here is that when we please a pure devotee, if we please pure devotee, and if a pure devotee think that we should go back to the Godhead, right? Then Krishna, by hook and crook, will make sure that we go back to Godhead. Why? Because desire of a pure devotee never go unfulfilled. Please keep that in mind. That desire of a pure devotee never go unfulfilled. So if we were successfully able to please, and if they decide, then Krishna will make sure that we will always go back to Godhead. Now what happened? The story of this pastime of the Amrit Keli, spreads like a wildfire. Everyone come to know that, someone named Madhavendra Puri, for him, actually Gopinath still the Amrit Keli, right? So Madhavendra Puri was so much concerned, because now he is a very humble devotee, so he was concerned that everyone will come for his pratishtha, he will there were garland and everything. So he was so much concerned, so he left the place, and then he left for Jagannath Puri, right? And when he reached Jagannath Puri, actually before, so I'll take 2 more minutes. So Madhavendra Puri reached to Jagannath Puri. Actually, before Madhavendra Puri reached Jagannath Puri, his glories have reached there. So actually, that Krishna says in the previous verse we looked at it, It is a Prabhave Sarvasarvatam. What does it mean is that Krishna increases the influence of a devotee. Actually, it's not a devotee who is kind of spreading his glories. It's actually Krishna is so happy with that devotee that he actually go before him and then spread the glory of him. Right? So when Madhavendra Puri reached there, already everyone knows about him, and they were come with a red carpet for Madhavendra Puri, and they offer him a garland and everything. But Madhavendra Puri was not looking for a prasishta, because he was determined to execute the order of the Lord. Right? His order of the Lord is to get the sandalwood, right? Sandalwood for the Gopal, right? So he requested the devotees, then they were able to arrange, Chaitanya Charitamrita says that they were able to arrange around 82 pound of sandalwood and 8 ounces of camphor, right? And Madhavendra Puri got that one, and then he again put it in front of him. He again went for a sleep, This is the last dream. After that, we'll end our pastime. So, in the dream, again Gopal appeared. And what this time Gopal is saying? Gopal is telling Madhavendra Puri, the sandalwood which is lying in front of you, I have received. Right? Prabhupada writes that how he received it. Gopal received it on the platform of pure devotional service. Right? He received it on the platform of pure devotional service of Madhavendra Puri. And also here we have one important point which need to be noted. What is that? That Krishna himself has created a sandalwood, right? He doesn't need sandalwood, right? He himself created why he needs a sandalwood for. But when Krishna sees that his devotees making a very genuine efforts, then he accepts it, right? Then he accepts it. Because he has everything, right? He is Aham Sarvasya Prabhavo, right? He has everything, he doesn't need anything. But when he sees that his devotee is making a genuine efforts, he accepts it. Now, Gopal further continues in his dream. He said that myself and Gopinath, they both are not different, right? So you do one thing, right? You do one thing, please take that sandalwood and apply it on the Gopinath. Once you apply it on Gopinath, I will get it, right? You apply it on Gopinath, I will get it. So see, this is the beauty of or the mood of Krishna, right? How much considerate Krishna is, right? Krishna is so much considerate about the age of Madhavendra Puri. He is 90. He's well into 90s, so 90 years old man, he has to walk all the way up to going back to Govardhan. And that time all the Muslim kings were ruling, right? So there were all troubles because he has to pass through all this tax collector points and everything. It is very difficult back then. Chaitanya Charitamrita says that actually when they got this Chandana, they also give him all the paperwork to sow into all those points so that people won't trouble him for that. And Krishna very well understood that, right? So here the one point is when we are dealing with devotees, even here or outside, one should be very much considerate. One should think that what other people will be going. My Guru Maharaj used to say that please always think about other people's situation, right? You put yourself into someone else's shoes. That is the one important point. And Krishna is that way. He's always thinking and worried about you, and accordingly he executes. Now what happened? Now next day, Madhavendra Puri wake up from his dream. And then he talked and explained everything to the Pujari of Gopinath temple. And then he said that please take this Chandana and then pulp it and apply it on Gopinath. Then the Gopalji will going to get it. Right? So then they did a nice applications of Chandana on Gopinath, and Gopalji's temperature went down. Right? So, end of this pastime, I want to make one point here. This whole pastime is on a premise of one important thing. What is that? That is a stealing. Right? Here, Krishna steal the Amrita Keli for pleasure of the devotee, is Madhavendra Puri. But before that happened, actually Madhavendra Puri become a thief. Right? And what Madhavendra Puri do? He actually wonderfully stole the heart of Krishna. Because of that, actually, Krishna has to steal something in return, right? That's why he steals the Amrit Keli for Madhavendra Puri. Also, if you see in this pastime, there's a wonderful dealing between Madhavendra Puri and Gopalji, right? That's how Krishna is reciprocating continuously with his devotee, right? And I'll end this class with one of the wonderful prayer. Madhavendra Puri was very old, right? When his when he was very old, there was two people serving him. One is Ishwar Puri and second one is Ramchandra Puri. Ramchandra Puri is always very critical of him. But that time, Madhavendra Puri composed a wonderful prayer for pleasure or to describe the mood of Radharani. And the prayer is like this. Actually, before we go to the prayer, Chaitanya Charitamrita, if you see the prayer in the purport, Prabhupada writes that when Madhavendra Puri sung this prayer, only 3 people understood this prayer. First, Madhavendra Puri, second, Radharani, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Only 3 people understood this prayer. And the prayer is like this. Ai deen dayadr nath hai, mathura nath kadavya loksh se, radayam tvad alok kataram, dayati brahmati kim karomyaham. And this is the mood of Radharani, translation, right? O my Lord, O most merciful Master, O Master of Mathura, when shall I see you again? Because my not seeing you, my agitated heart has become unsteady. O most beloved one, what shall I do now? This is the mood of Radharani. Actually, if we see this prayer has been taken by Madhavendra Puri from material, from the spiritual world. He takes this ripened fruit of devote the love of Krishna. He take that one and give it to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu give it into the down the line in parampara, right? And now this fruit has become so much matured by the merciful glance and merciful instruction of His divine grace, His Bhakti Padan, Swami Prabhupada ki Jai. Shripad Madhavendra Puri ki Jai. Hare Krishna. I have no qualification to take anyone's question, but if someone has a comment, then please.
No questions or comments? Oh, yes.
Prabhu, question to anybody, not me.
I have one question. Like, what is the, I mean, why does Lord come in the dream and not in the
Personal form?
Not while when somebody is awake. What is the difference?
Right. So actually, maybe that is the Lord's way of dealing with that devotee, right? He probably desired to deal with the devotee that way. And many times, if we see that in a Bhagavatam, if you see the story of Narad Muni, right? In a previous birth, when the Narad Muni, Lord just showed a glance of him and then he disappeared. And then in that mood of separation, their bhakti become intense, right? So maybe that may be the reason. Maybe, if you want to add anything. Yeah.
No, I mean, the Lord can do as He pleases and He appears as He wants, right? But often the Lord will come in the dreams of devotees, right? In the dreams of devotees. And the devotees will wonder, did I dream or was that really the Lord, right? And then the Lord will prove that no, it was really me who came in the dream, right? And so many, I think Prabhupada even saw so many things like that. So it's just the way the Lord likes to reciprocate with the devotees. So, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for a wonderful class. Let's be pretty loud, Haribol. Okay, so Prasadam is being served at 7 o'clock. We will have Shayanarti. If you're honoring Prasadam in the temple room, please finish by 6:40 so the devotees